Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Smite Super Regionals. My name is Randy, and I'm joined on the desk by Tully and Dazer. We had a great game earlier on. ALG qualified for the first seed in Worlds. They're already guaranteed a spot, and going 5-0 in the group stages puts them well and beyond ahead of the rest of the competition. Secondarily, though, there are some teams that are in a little bit of a closer scenario, but I don't really want to talk Smite esports right now. I want to talk about the most important thing that you've ever heard. That's right. It's the Smite digital loot pack. That's what you want to know about. The Smite Heebie Chibi Hades skin is where it is all about. Turn your attention to just these 1,500 gems you're going to use to get all this good stuff. The Heroine Amaterasu, the Hero Apollo, the 2017 Capri. This is blowing my mind, Tully.
Honestly, the Apollo looks very majestic to me. You look at that blue on blue. The blue background, too, as well. It matches your jersey there, Daisy.
Yeah, it does. It's a shame we're not going.
I mean, you could still go.
See, you know, I'm just...
You could still go.
You could buy a ticket, but they're almost sold out. So, I mean, I would... If you use the code regionals, you get a discount for that, 25% off.
I might have to use that then.
All right. Make sure you use that at home as well. Man, these segues are brilliant. And you'll get yourself in the door a little bit easier, and that's what we all want to do. The SWC, the Smart World Championship, it's where all these teams are fighting to be, and you can be there as a viewer experiencing all the live interaction, seeing EU hate on NA all day so that they can get some representation in the championship. But beyond that, we have a game coming up, and that is Flashpoint versus Dig. Now, the interesting scenarios going on with these teams, Tully. Dig still have a chance. Flashpoint still have a chance as well. What needs to go down for both of these teams to qualify?
So Dignitas, their path is still not on their own hands because Luminosity controlled their own fate. Obviously, if Luminosity win one, Dignitas is out, Orbit is out. Flashpoint, they're 0-2 currently. They're still struggling to find a single win currently.
And do you feel that with that lack of even winning, Dazer, Flashpoint are mentally in this, ready to go? I feel like Dig maybe has a little bit of the advantage here, having found the win already, seeing that path a little easier.
Yeah, I think like mentally, Flashpoint are in a weird spot right now. It's kind of hard. Yesterday they had quite a tough loss against who was it?
Sanguine.
Yeah, Sanguine.
Yeah, game of the day.
Yeah, no, they had quite a tough loss, and from what I got told, I wasn't there unfortunately, but the Hurriwind was quite annoyed at the crowd. We like to get loud in the EU, of course, so yeah, it was kind of annoying for them, of course, but yeah, I think mentally, I think Dig is probably more prepared.
Now that you're on the analyst desk and not inciting all the chants, will it be a little easier for Hurriwind to get going?
Maybe. We'll have to see. I think they can do a good enough job without me.
Okay. Well, you know, Hurriwind is a big talking point as well, but Dig, ShadowNightmare, when he showed up for them, it's been very successful for that team in general. Moving forward, what's the kind of win condition? I'm asking this a lot. In these best of ones, it's important.
Yes.
It's one game. I mean, you saw the win condition was the right jungle in the last game. What is the one right here for Dig going into this battle versus Flashpoint?
I think that for Dignitas, for ShadowNightmare at least, he relies very heavily maybe on getting some of these mechanical gods. We've seen him on the Scylla earlier on in this event, but unfortunately, as he makes a little face, ShadowNightmare, a very nice little meme lore there, but either way, he relies very heavily on these mechanical gods, I feel like, and he's a little bit hit or miss, I would say, with the Scylla throughout this event, so Dignitas definitely need him to show up here.
Yeah, that can't entirely be shown just by the mid laner, though. Like, sometimes he might miss abilities, but that can, in part, be because of his teammate. Like, they need to be calling their CCs, and that's just communication a lot of the time.
Do you like relying on a Scylla, which is such a heavy execution-oriented god? If you hit it, you're golden. If you don't, you're kind of wasted a pick. Do you like that going into a best of one set where everything's on the line?
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. Honestly, it's just it depends on the comp. If they have something like an Athena to set it up, or just a lot of CC on the team, like a Batz, something like that. Like FrostiaK can easily run a Batz with a Scylla in the mid lane. That can be great for them, for example, or just CC to set it up. That's what they need.
They can also go something more safe. They could go potentially the Giannis or the Ra, get the mobility online for their teammates, or look for the sustain options with the Ra. Obviously, you can't miss that Ra heal on your own teammates.
No,
so maybe that could be something that Dignitas do, because something that I've seen consistently out of them is they're banning the Khepri and the Geb, despite them not being against Sanguine even at times. So I feel like they're more afraid of this Khepri, like long, tanky, resilient composition. And I feel like BigManTingz over there is not really comfortable maybe playing Khepri himself.
Yeah, that's probably part of it, but I think the main reason is that they, as a team, they like to drop a lot of ultimates on one person, and if they do have the Khepri, then it just gets denied. And because of that, it's kind of a smart ban for them, of course.
We know Suntouch was on the desk with us earlier. He's the hunter for Dignitas, and I know that he's been theory crafting and touching on what they need to do to win this game. Personally, we've seen a lot of these matchups between the two teams come down to solo lanes. We've seen, just in the last game, Cyclone Spin had his way with Scary D. Here, we've seen Erlang Shin get let through. Do you expect that god to be able to be played in this game?
I could definitely see Erlang Shen being allowed through, because whoever's going to be first pick is probably going to lean on the Terra first pick. They definitely want that. Whoever's second pick might let the Erlang Shen into their side. And between Ducky versus Benji here, I expect both players to be very aggressive. We've seen Ducky play the Osiris. We've seen Benji play the Raven earlier on, and he always wants to look for a little bit of action.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, again, it just really does depend on the drafts, to me at least. As soon as we see that, then we'll know like how they're going to play these games. But yeah, I mean, we know Dig, they like to run 2 hogs, so we never really know what they're going to do.
Do you think we're going to see any cheese out of them with this double Wrath start that they've been always talking about throughout the whole event? I heard some of them be like, I hope you guys like extra cheese pizza, you know, because we're coming at you.
Well, they have been running 2 Wraths almost every single game, but it just depends on the gods with whether they're going to invade or not. So if Big Man gets something like Fafnir or Bacchus where he can get out easily, then they're going to more than likely look for the invade. But if he's on something like Athena, he didn't look for it. So it does really depend on the draft.
Something that you guys really like to do a lot is go Erlang Shen support or even Sun Wukong support and then look for that Wrath buff invade. But do you expect BigManTingz to do the same?
To me, he doesn't really play the Wukong and the Erlang Shens as much. To me, it doesn't really seem like his play style really more than anything. So I wouldn't expect that pick as much. But if he does get something like the Fafnir or the Bacchus, then he could easily do it.
And there's Homiefe, the jungler on the side of Flashpoint. He went along for the ride when Hurriwind was kicked from Soar. He left with his friend, his teammate, and joined another team. That is Flashpoint GG. And it's time for him to step up today if they want a chance of winning. He's one of the better junglers in the world, people say.
Anister certainly looks up to this player. Mechanically very gifted. Whenever he was in Sword during the spring split, we saw a lot of great things coming out of this young player, and this is why that they rely very heavily on any sort of momentum with him. He relies very heavily on to Kuang, Nemesis, and even the Thor. Some of these gods that get off to a really great start.
Well, how do you feel about this Kukulkan first pick? We see Erlang Shen and Terra banned. Kind of as expected, Rat and Sobek go away as well, but Kook for the first pick.
They haven't locked it in yet, and I hope they don't. I think locking in a Kukulkan first pick would be very questionable. The Athena makes a lot more sense. A lot more sense, suddenly.
To be fair, though, ShadowNightmare against Sanguine, he did play the Kukulkan. We saw Cherio playing the Nausea against it, and he was doing a good job avoiding some of those ultimates from Cherio and then re-engaging with his own ultimate in the Tornado. So it would have made a little bit of sense in terms of taking that away from ShadowNightmare, but first picking it, definitely risky.
Yeah, I think the god is good in some ways, like depending on comps, of course, but I think it's not strong enough to first pick. And I really like the Dig's draft so far. The Batz has been absolutely amazing on FrostiaK. He's very, very good on the god, and Jing is for Suntouch, of course, as well.
It seems that a lot of European teams really prioritize this Batz over some other junglers. Why do you think that is?
I think it just depends on the player more than anything, because like teams like Sanguine, they don't really prioritize it as much, but they do like to ban it into players like Cubo Fred or FrostiaK, for example, because they are so strong on it, and it does provide so much for a team fight. The Fear No Evil was just incredible.
And now with this Kuang and Neith pick from Flashpoint GG, with this magical jungler for Homiefe, I'm really expecting this Neith to go into the mid lane for Hurriwind.
Yeah, I would expect that as well. Now they've got a very global team, which is going to put a lot of pressure on Dignitas, and I think the Neith ult into the Kuang, that's going to really allow the Kuang to look for picks so much more easily.
Especially with the Athena being played here for Shadowq, we could see a lot of pressure being put onto that solo lane, maybe trying to give Benji a little bit of an advantage over Ducky there.
You do see Batz and Sylvanus locked away for Dig, whereas Neith, Kuang, Athena on Flashpoint, and like I said, Suntouch will be on Dig playing that Jing Wei. You see the obvious knockups here, but not even the knockups, it's the initiation that Dig seem to have right now.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I don't particularly like the Sylvanus pick too much here. I mean, it's quite nice having healing into the Kuang, of course, but the thing is, the healing is really slow. It doesn't really proc so quickly like Guan Yu, where you can quickly heal up the execute damage. But into this comp, to me, again, the Sylvanus isn't really that good because he's just going to be able to get picked off really, really easily by the Neith and the Kuang.
What do you think about Sylvanus and the Raw? We see the Odin ban immediately from Dignitas. Dignitas obviously having the next pick since they're in the second pick position. Do you think Flashpoint ban Raw here?
I don't think so. I think Dignitas are going to be looking for a lot more burst damage, honestly. I think they need the burst here, otherwise they're not really going to have as much... Yeah, okay, the Raw ban does
There's a little bit of burst with the Raw.
Oh, no, of course, but I think that you just need more consistent damage, I would say.
Okay.
More like maybe a Kulkan could be good here for Dignitas. Maybe it's something that they could pick up. I almost expect it, I'm not sure. Hades.
He better have the
Chibi
Hades skin, otherwise he's going to get soloed. That's all I got to say.
We've seen Divios play it, unfortunately did not elect to go for that skin, man.
This is going to be, this determines a lot. This is the game right here. This and the skin. Is he going to lock it in? The Hades hovered over by Dignitas.
It's almost a good thing, actually, the Hades here, because they have a lot of Beast Force already with the Batz, so maybe as a secondary engage.
Zeus.
And I stand corrected again. Here we go.
Well, it still makes sense because there's a lot of area of effect control for Dignitas. They have the Fear No Evil, they have the Sylvanus ult, and the Zeus ult. So Flashpoint, they have to be very careful with their positioning. Any one of those ults can dissect the teamfight into two.
Yeah, I like the Zeus pick a lot more, actually, than even the Rahi, if it was available. Just because the Zeus provides so much more early pressure and so much more damage in these teamfights that they're going to need to be able to win them.
The problem that I'm seeing here from Dignitas is during the little 2v2 skirmishes between Batz and Zeus, the Zeus kind of has to hit his own abilities. Batz, pre-level 5, obviously, cannot really set up the Zeus for a guaranteed chain lightning.
Well, I have faith enough in ShadowNightmare to be able to do that, of course. I think Zeus is actually one of the more easier gods to do it on, honestly. But like right now, the Dignitas comp is really rounding out to be really good, honestly. They've got such big circles, like these big ults, you know, which can do so much, and the Bellona pick as well.
Wow.
So another big circle for the Eagles rally on the Bellona, so definitely relying very heavily on the teamfight aspect of things. Now, Bellona versus Amaterasu in that solo lane. We haven't really seen this matchup in quite a long time. Obviously, Amaterasu can silence out that bludgeon, but it is a longer cooldown from that silence between the Bellona bludgeon. Suntouch putting on his goggles as he's getting ready to get into game here.
Hopefully those are his carry goggles.
That's what he's going to need it, man. Jing Wei, he was actually discussing a bit about how he felt about Ataraxia's build. I don't think he was in love with it. We might see him go a different direction with Jing Wei. And what direction might that be, Toli?
He definitely prefers the lifesteal onto Jing Wei. He likes to play a little bit more safe instead of looking for the kill potential. And now I feel like the late game composition here out of Flashpoint is a little bit better here with the Kuang and the Amaterasu Hui. So it's very important for Dignitas to look for some early objective control fights.
Yeah, no, for sure. As soon as Dignitas are actually clumped together and they fight as a 5, they're going to be so much stronger into that comp. Flashpoint are really good at picking people out, and Dignitas have got gods which are quite easy to pick out. So this game should be actually quite dynamic, actually, in how it works.
Can't wait to see. One team will win, one will lose. One hopes will be crushed, one hope will be continued. Casters, take it away.
Team Dignitas versus our own Flashpoint GG, formerly known as Denial. Both of these teams still in the running. Both of these teams can wind up at Worlds.
Very important, because both of these teams can still wind up at Worlds, like you were just talking about. And these two compositions, like the analyst desk just broke down, do two very, very different things. Flashpoint is going to pick you off in the jungle, in your lane. If you're alone and you're not paying attention, it's very easy to get jumped on very quickly by Flashpoint's comp. You've got the global ultimate from Neith, you've got the global ultimate from Athena, and then Homiefe on this Kuang is going to be very, very key for Flashpoint. But like they were saying on the desk, their team comp, the team fight potential for Dignitas is incredibly strong. Sustain is the big key, obviously, but as well as just a lot of big circles on the side of Dignitas. They're going to hit a lot of different people.
Your favorite in any event?
I am a fan.
All eyes on Homiefe. This guy has been one of the most dynamic junglers in the entire league this year. He has been out of control. His Kuang specifically has single-handedly carried some games, and yet this weekend he has been all but absent. Just haven't really heard much about Homiefe. Flashpoint GG has really leaned on him during the regular season, and now when it comes time to really actually bring out the big guns, well, he's very quiet.
You're right. He has been absent. A lot of members of Flashpoint have been absent as well for me. I mean, they just haven't had the LAN performance that a lot of us, including myself, was really expecting. I mean, Shadowq has not looked very good during the duration of this week. Hurriwind has been hot and cold, which is about standard. And then Vetium has been the real consistent performer for me for the side of Flashpoint. Benji has always had that potential to either carry a game or be kind of invisible. But Vetium this weekend has looked very, very strong. And so even though the pick dictates that it's going to be Homiefe being the star of this show, I wouldn't be surprised to see Vetium try and take that spotlight away.
At the same time, Vetium doesn't really demand the spotlight. He doesn't play that type of style. When it comes to laning phase, he's not really going to look for the one-on-ones the way we've seen, honestly, most of our hunters this weekend play so aggressively. Vetium really, even on this Ho-Yi into Suntouch's Jing, I think we're going to see a little bit more safety. There he is under the tower, then more aggression, and then come the mid-game, I think we'll see him try to combat the heavy team fight caliber of Team Dignitas.
And that's why I like this selection, because Vetium, he did find a solo kill earlier on, I believe onto Arkil yesterday, so you know he has that potential if he wants to. And Ho-Yi always has that potential in lane, but Ho-Yi's also an excellent team fighter. You've got the AoE ultimate that can really help zone you away, plus now with the recent buffs, it's going to be slowing more significantly in those team fights, so you're going to be able to make a bigger impact there. Plus, again, the 1v1 potential, or just in team fights, Vetium, he's known for his solid positioning in those team fights, and if Ducky's the one trying to dive into the back line and make life difficult for him, what hunter would you rather have than Ho-Yi to fend off a frontliner? You
know, it's interesting. I think we've seen so many choices in the solo lane recently. Some are very aggressive, like when you look at Vamana, some that have to wait a little bit, like this Amaterasu choice. But this Bellona seems like almost a nod to a meta that we've passed already. Why do we see the Bellona come back for Ducky?
Well, Ducky seems to like these gods that used to be really strong and aren't quite as strong anymore. Osiris comes to mind. He really likes to play that. Now Bellona, and Bellona still does a lot of things very well. Disarm is still very, very impactful in team fights, as well as that ultimate giving you that boon of physical protection, which is going to really help up against the double hunter composition from Flashpoint.
FrostiaK lurking, looking for the first blood, going to be smelled out. Benji not going up too far, so FrostiaK just walks in and gets some farm.
The Benji definitely in a lot of trouble, but not as much trouble as ShadowNightmare on this middle lane. Level 6, though, forces the ultimate from Homiefe as well, so nice job.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I mean, the Zeus ultimate is more of a later in the game ult, really. At 3 minutes, I'm not concerned if my Zeus ult is down, because nobody's really looking for the Gold Fury. Obviously, we're not fighting over Fire Giant, and that Zeus ultimate is area denial, and it's more team fight. The pick-off ultimate from the jungler is really what I'm looking at.
Yeah, in fact, Homie did not use that. I don't know what I saw, but I thought he used it, so he is going to have that up. So you could see Hurriwind maybe look to charge that ultimate. ShadowNightmare is a little bit poked out right now, so they could be looking for him if he comes back to this mid wave. And you could see Vetium and Shadowq are both here as well. And this is the power of having a pretty good push in that duo lane. Even though we've seen Vetium under tower for most of this game, it only takes one moment where you see BigManTingz rotates out. That means Flashpoint gets pressure in that duo lane, which allows them to both rotate over and make sure that it's going to be Flashpoint securing both of these mid-harpies.
Well, here's something interesting, though. Well, while we see the rotation from Flashpoint's Hunter to go get the mid-harpies, Jing also leaves lane to get the red buff. So there's an ultimate out of Hunt. Batz looking for the damage. Shadowq half HP. Team Dignitas still dealing out the damage. Homiefe very low, just barely getting out, but rally over here. Ducky gets the first blood.
Benji gonna be able to chase him down, trades it out. Solo laner gets the kill, but Benji might fall as well, and he will. FrostiaK picks up the second kill for Dignitas, and that entire engagement you can credit to the jungler for Dignitas. Fear No Evil perfectly separates the mid laner Hurriwind from the rest of his team, who is gets pushed back into that mid-heartbeat camp. Really excellent engagement from Frosty.
Here's even more aggression coming out from Dig. FrostiaK gets taunted away from his original target. Beautiful pull out of the support. Here's the follow-up. One shot left, and they're not going to find it. But Team Dignitas chase out their opponent right underneath the tower.
So close to picking up that kill on Vetium. He had no health, no mana. Also had to use his purification there just to immune the slow coming out from Somersault to make sure that FrostiaK wasn't going to be able to find that second in-hand, which certainly would have spelled a kill for him. A little bit late on that ultimate from ShadowNightmare. He's either got to wait until Vetium jumps or use it right away. You got to trust that the pull is going to hit. Instead, he pulls it out a little bit too late. He only gets one tick off, and so Vetium's able to survive.
Homie here in the right lane. It's going to be the 2-on-2 solo jungle group up. The blue buff going to spawn, and Dig will go into their jungle. Flashpoint not going to follow.
Flashpoint's okay with, you know, they're a little bit down right now, down about 1,400 gold, but this composition that they have is going to be really, really strong in the late game. Double Hunter, like I mentioned already, your tower push is going to be insane as it is. Plus, you still have an Kuang in the late game.
That's big.
And an Amaterasu in the late game. Shadowq, you want Athena is very strong in the late game. This composition definitely has a lot to offer as the game goes later on, but it isn't only later on. I mean, this team in the mid game also has a lot of potential.
Ducky one more time is going to be the target. Ultimate for the mid lane will be immune, and Homiefe just doesn't have a shot. Ducky able to get out of there.
Kind of surprised that Benji didn't just dash and use his ult there. I mean, he had it up, and Ducky, no more CC immunity in his kit. Maybe Benji, because he was about 2/3 HP, doesn't want to dive and look for the execute for Homiefe, because you don't have to kill Ducky. You don't have to get him to 0%. He only needs 30% HP, and then Homiefe is going to be able to come in and make that execute happen.
Not going to be the case this time. Very early on, we've seen a lot of early engagements, a lot of aggression, which I think is uncharacteristic. If you were to tell me that Flashpoint and Dignitas were going to be playing today, I probably wouldn't have anticipated already this much action.
Especially with the composition that Flashpoint has in particular. I mean, even Dignitas' composition really comes online best in the mid game. I mean, you want FrostiaK to finish off that Hydra's Lament. That's a huge power spike for him. ShadowNightmare is going to go for his Warlock Sash, so he's going to want some farm as well.
Homiefe dealing some damage. There's a beautiful taunt. Ducky is going to be the target, but the blink away from Homiefe. Not a big commitment as Team Dignitas filter in from the left.
You could see BigManTingz was looking to come over and help Ducky. Blinks in and uses the almost used the ult there, just the wisps, but you get that blink down, so that means that the engage that Dignitas is lacking, and Dignitas is lacking engage with this composition. You're really relying on Hunbats to be your primary engage, but when Hunbats is your primary engage tool, that means Fear No Evil isn't going to be getting that amazing value a lot of the time. You're not going to be able to force, it's not like you're forcing Purification with an Athena taunt or, you know, a no escape from Ares, and then Fear No Evil comes in and really wipes a whole team fight. With FrostiaK being the primary engage factor for Dignitas, they're really relying on BigManTingz to come in and clean up with that Wrath of Terra ultimate. But without that blink, you can, when he has that blink, you can kind of flip that script. You can go in and blink, and you can get some purification early and allow Fear No Evil to be big.
Otherwise, BigManTingz is going to be the one getting engaged on. Very quickly down to 10%. Hurriwind thinks about charging it, but obviously Team Dignitas going to wall up. So no chance of that one.
Vetium a little bit off the mark with his angles there. Not quite the math whiz on that one, but he'll be able to find it, I'm sure. And Vetium, again, he's the one to watch for me on Flashpoint, along with Homiefe. These are the two guys that I expect to really step up big if they're going to make it to Worlds, and they've got a lot to work on in just today. Today is their last chance to make it to Worlds, basically, along with Dignitas. And if Flashpoint's going to be the one to join Allegiance there coming out of the group stage, I'm really looking at those two players that I mentioned, Vetium and Homiefe.
You know, you say sort of like want. This is a need for me, honestly. Homiefe absolutely has to step up. I mean, this team wasn't composed around him, obviously. Homiefe and Hurriwind wound up joining the likes of everybody else. There's Shadowq with a taunt, and Homiefe going to join in the fight, but ShadowNightmare just deletes him.
Turn around there. Also, BigManTingz just able to get that ultimate off. Homiefe goes for a ride up into the sky and then gets detonated down before he's able to find the execute, and that's one of the reasons why engaging on a Sylvanus is so difficult to find the right opportunity for, because if you don't kill him before the CC wears off, that knockup lasts forever, and it does a lot of damage. It's primarily a dot, but it's still going to do a lot of damage to you, and Homiefe eats it there. And this is a great counter matchup for Dignitas, by the way, that we haven't really mentioned. Sylvanus into Kuang is a matchup that really Eager was the first one on console that we faced up against a long time ago that really liked to pull it out. It was Jelly on this Sylvanus on the console. It's the double dot against Kuang. He's not going to be able to stay invisible for long. Plus, Kuang kind of struggles against healing because even if you get someone to 35%, he may try and full commit, but then you've got the wisps healing you up and you never drop below that 30% execute threshold. It makes it difficult for that to happen. So you can see why Sylvanus was picked here. Pretty early on, you know, a lot of teams or a lot of people may think, oh, well, we just saw Polar Bear Mike have a good game on it. So Dignitas is like, yeah, we could do that too. And that may be part of it, but it also fits the composition nicely.
And also, what you highlighted before, you kind of dumbed it down a little bit when you just said, yay, there's big circles. But at the end of the day, if you overlap that Zeus ultimate on top of the Wrath of Terra, I mean, you're knocked up for so many seconds that you're just going to take too much damage. You'll have 2 to 3 stacks of that passive already on you. So that when the detonate comes out of ShadowNightmare, I mean, well, you saw, homie.
Yeah, exactly. Zeus does damage whenever he gets stacks on you. It's just a matter of how well can Zeus stay alive, and that's another thing Sylvanus can do pretty well. Sylvanus has excellent peel for a support. You know, sometimes we talk about how characters like Bacchus don't have the best peel as a support, but they bring other things to the table. Sylvanus brings peel, he brings healing, and when he has that blink up, like I was talking about, he also can be an engage factor.
Back to the Hunter lane, Vetium versus Suntouch. This is such an interesting lane for me. I kind of wish that these guys would take more fights because I think that they have very, very interesting playstyles that intersect at some points and not all the time else. Let me explain. So Suntouch, I think, does all right during the laning phase, but really excels during the team fights. And I think the same happens out of Vetium, but almost by choice for Vetium, whereas Suntouch just naturally has his talents in that team fight strategy.
Suntouch is definitely going to have a really strong day. Like I was talking about, if Vetium and Homiefe are going to be able to have a strong day, that's the best chance for Flashpoint. But oh, nice pull there onto Shadowq immediately into the wall. Lightning Storm as well, but the Shell is buying Shadow a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, that was a perfect setup, and ShadowNightmare makes sure it counts. Another kill goes the way of the support. Homiefe answers back, taking out the mid laner. FrostiaK gonna dodge and weave out of the Vetium shots. And he should be all right, but he's gonna get more aggressive. Purification out of Vetium. Big shots, Team Dignitas chasing all the way home. Ducky gets the kill.
Ducky's made an impact with this Bellona early on. 2 kills already, 2-1-1. He's got to level up onto Benji in the solo lane right now, but that beautiful pull from BigManTingz. You can see the ward there waiting around the wall, and then FrostiaK's positioning with Fear No Evil perfect again.
Benji by himself goes in 1v3, has the help of Shadowq, who's going to land on top. Still lopsided in the direction of Team Dignitas, but they've got help from Hurriwind.
Not quite enough, though. Ducky, despite being low on mana, not going to be able to fall there. Benji, not enough cooldowns, and Shadowq is just a little level 10 support, so not a whole lot of damage available to him either. But FrostiaK, he's a character that we talked about a lot when it comes to Dignitas. Can be very, very hot and cold, and is kind of a reason why we see Dignitas have really great performances sometimes and really lackluster performances at times for me. But Batz has been a character that, at least this week here at Super Regionals, he's looked pretty consistently strong on. Every great performance that Frosty's had this week has been on Batz, and again, he's looking like it. He's been a part of every single kill. He's got 5 assists of the 6 kills that Dignitas have, and he's going at it again.
And he's going to look to raise that number. Shadowq still the target, gets forward, there's a jump. Not going to find the slow. ShadowNightmare still pressing, but no players are going to fall in that engagement. Still 6-2.
I like the idea, though. They're consistently looking at Shadowq because you know the support isn't going to have any sort of purification available. In that last fight, not the one we just saw, but whenever it was the pull into the Fear No Evil from FrostiaK, Hurriwind has to be mindful of his positioning as well, because you saw him get picked up exclusively because of chain lightning damage.
Yep.
He just stood too close to Athena. ShadowNightmare is able to hit the bounce, and then Hurriwind takes about half his HP from chain lightning, and then the other half from the detonate. He's got to be careful about that.
Dignitas already getting the Gold Fury down to about 25% HP. Vetium shows his face, and they're going to be careful with it. Still damage, and Dignitas taken away. Vetium tries to help, but he just cannot.
Suntouch trying to get out of danger, and he will thanks to the airstrike there. ShadowNightmare taunts it in. Does not have purification, but does have sanctuary. He has finished that Warlock Sash, like I was mentioning. He was going to go for it, but only 4 stacks on it means that doesn't have a whole lot of extra HP or damage at this stage, but he will later on.
Exactly, and it'll happen quicker than you think, actually, with as many minions that come down the lane. Homiefe has the Athena ultimate on him.
Ducky has a sprint on him.
They're not going to chase.
Ducky has a sprint on him. Ducky's ultimate was down, so that's why you saw the idea come through there for Flashpoint. But with that sprint, we've seen a lot of different relics. Ooh. Speaking of which, in the middle lane, ShadowNightmare, there's the Sanctuary forced by Benji, and Purification by Shadowq as well. I like the play by Shadow to stick around and make sure that he's getting that second relic as well as a Sanctuary.
It's very important to make sure you follow up on that teammate, especially when that's the communication. You know, Benji will take that kill if it's given to him, but obviously he's going to play his opponent, and he knows his opponent is very strong, so you got to make sure to knock out both of those relics. And now here's the thing, you're going to look and count the seconds. So right there we'll see players sort of type in their chat usually with a timing, and then you're able to refer back to it. A minute and 30 or 130 seconds, 125 seconds on both of those relics, and Team Dignitas are going to, or Flashpoint, excuse me, is going to look to gank that Zeus one more time before that window is over.
And it's going to be between Shadowq and Homiefe, I guarantee it. Taunt, you're not going to have Purification for, and then the execute. That's the game plan for this Zeus. And like I mentioned, Zeus can do a lot of damage, but he's very immobile. We talk about it all the time when it comes to this character. If you can protect him, he could do wonders for you. He can have some of the highest single target DPS in the game, but you have to make sure that he's staying alive, and without both of those relics, it is going to be a little bit more difficult for ShadowNightmare to stay alive. Luckily for him, he is going for this health-oriented build that he usually likes to do, which means that Homiefe is going to have to chunk through more HP to get him down into that execute threshold.
Well, I mean, ShadowNightmare's aware. You know, he completely understands that he's going to be the target. BigManTingz get taunted there, but I don't think even Flashpoint wanted to taunt him right there.
They've learned their lesson already. Vetium here, Suntouch is not, so it could be Flashpoint looking to take the fight here on the left-hand Harpies, but instead they're actually going to give them up to Team Dignitas. So that 3v3 core for Dig's composition is just so strong. They're just able to turn around fights so quickly.
And here's the damage out of the jungler. Ooh, but a swift
nice backflip.
Hurriwind's going to get out, and this is just nothing yet. This is really sloppy here in the mid lane so far. 6-2. We had one really clean engagement coming out from Team Dignitas, and then everything else since then has just been interesting.
Well, that engagement by FrostiaK is just there to get Purification. Like Benji diving the middle lane, knowing that he's not going to get the kill. FrostiaK knows that Hurriwind's going to use Purification there, but again, it's just about getting those relics out and then taking advantage later on. It's about how well can you use that long cooldown to your advantage.
BigManTingz and Suntouch here on the left-hand side, or the right side, rather.
Suntouch here on the right side is a little bit surprising. They might be looking for the speed buff. They aren't going to get it. Homiefe able to find just enough damage in time.
What is this huge grouping up? Why is Suntouch here on the right side?
Because he has the advantage to just back, and now he's only going to miss most of this wave instead of all of it potentially, or at least 2 waves. He might miss, he is going to miss all 3 archers here, I believe. So he will miss a full wave, but you can see he is a level up right now, and if you take a look at the net worth, he's up about 1,000 gold. Thanks to the Gold Fury, thanks to the overall fighting of Dignitas, it's given Suntouch this lead, and that gives him leeway to make rotations like that to the right-hand side. Especially when you're on Jing Wei, that's a rotation that even when you are up 1,000 gold, you can't make as a hunter because you're missing 2, maybe even 3 waves backing. But because he's Jing Wei, he only misses 1, and he's still up about 1,000 gold anyways. Didn't work out, but I like the idea.
So what you're saying is the answer is just because?
Yeah, basically. Because you can, and that's how you do it. Now on the left-hand side, gonna take an ultimate just because. Takes about 3/4 of his HP, but keeps all of his relics up, and that's the important thing.
Now, see, that's not a just because ultimate. If he doesn't ult there, he dies.
Right, yeah.
So he does.
It was just because I was saying just because before that, Tom. I was trying to like tie it in a little bit, you know?
All right, you know what? I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Just because.
Just because.
Just because. Almost 20 minutes on the clock here, folks. Shy of 2. And we've got a just under 4K gold lead for Team Dignitas. Both of these teams, by the way, this is the last day that we have our single set series. Essentially what's going on here both yesterday and today, teams play each other over the course of 2 days, and then we just tally up the wins. And he who winds up on top will be the wild card. We've already confirmed the other 4 teams going to Worlds, so very interesting to see who's going to come out of here.
We already know one of the 2 teams coming into the wild card. It's going to be Team Allegiance, the newly formed team, really able to pull it together quickly, and they're going to be they go 5-0 in their 5 games.
Incredible.
Very, very impressive. Up against very difficult competition, such as Orbit, the #1 seed out of Europe, who fell down into groups, and Luminosity as well. So it's just a matter of who's going to be joining them at Worlds. We've got 5 out of the 6 teams from Europe or North America qualified. We're looking for the 6th.
Well, FrostiaK's looking for a kill. Damage coming on a Hurriwind, but no follow-up. ShadowNightmare a little bit too far away to really react to that Fear No Evil, so instead the mage will just pick up those left harpies.
Benji has made the rotation while Ducky is still sitting in lane, but Ducky does have teleport, so if a fight breaks out, he's able to get here pretty quickly. And I talked about it last time. It's about making sure, oh, hold that thought, Suntouch in a ton of trouble. Homiefe gonna find him in the jungle. That little tiny corridor is not where you want to fight Hou Yi.
It's not where you want to fight anybody.
You can't fight, you can fight some characters, but not Hou Yi and not Kuang. Not the right place for Suntouch to be there.
Yeah, I mean, you have Kuang's ability that's going to fill that entire corridor, and then obviously the ricochet bounces are kind of troublesome. Team Dignitas now pulling the Gold Fury, but just really testing the waters. They want to see who's going to respond.
Homiefe in trouble, not where he wants to be either. Shell gonna keep him alive for now, but not long enough to keep him away from Ducky. Rally here has gotten Ducky 3 kills early on in this game. Homiefe's pathing there just can't go that way, man. You just cannot go that way. Shield Bash is gonna find you when you're invisible. You lose your speed buff as well, thanks to the invade of FrostiaK. And that advantage they got from picking Suntouch, now gone.
Blink in from BigManTingz just forces players off of the tier 1 tower. This should allow Dignitas to pick it up.
So there's that. Taunt on a FrostiaK. He wasn't even looking. Tier 1 tower finally gonna fall. Shadowq in a little bit of trouble. I'm assuming FrostiaK thought he was gonna teleport there?
I got nothing.
Or he just wanted to celebrate getting a tier 1 tower.
I think it was more the former. You know, FrostiaK does some cheeky things, but I think blowing a Fear No Evil in the middle of mid lane is pushing it. I think he kind of expected a little bit something else mechanically. Team Dignitas is Hunter. He's going to get grouped up on Suntouch without a dash at the moment. Benji going to give chase, but the rest of Dig wrapping around.
Ducky's here. He's up about a level on his opponent, but has the wing blade for Benji, so Shield Bash just going to speed him up instead of slowing him down. Benji almost, it's going to be Ducky almost finishing off that heavy hammer, and Flashpoint going to try and finish off this Gold Fury.
Taunt onto Ducky. He can't rally here. Big damage onto him. There's the execute. Homiefe takes him to the sky. That's number 4 for Flashpoint.
Now Homie going to come crashing down looking for Suntouch. Airstrike going to give him that CC immunity. Doesn't even need the purification because they were down anyways. That's the strength of this comp that Flashpoint has drafted. Taunt into mark, into stun, into execute.
And you just don't have that many options to really get to shed that crowd control. Gold Fury goes the way of Flashpoint. GG. That's going to bring their lead to 2,500, they being Team Dignitas, who have led the game for the majority of the match. But here, as we pass the 20-minute mark, Flashpoint are starting to really get their wheels underneath them, specifically that jungler. Homiefe really had no impact in the early game, and that's sort of what to expect out of an Kuang.
Exactly, that's what you expect. 21 minutes in, now is when you start to expect it. Taking a look at his items, you're going to be able to see that he's finished off that Polynomicon, and I believe he's also finished off the Obsidian Shard, which he has. So he's got a little bit of physical protection and magical damage and penetration coming out of that Dynasty Plate helm, and then the burst damage from the Obsidian Shard with the penetration, and then of course the Polynomicon passive, which procs on his 2 and his 3. So you're going to be able to do a lot of burst damage very quickly, and that's where, once Kuang finishes these 4 items, that's when it's starting to get go time. Yes, he'll still want the Rod of Tahuti. Yes, he could potentially even look for a Soul Reaver 6th item, something along those lines, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, here's even more aggression. Team Dignitas, they got off to a quick start, and they haven't seemed to stop. They're just continuously putting the foot on the gas pedal and not really letting up.
And they're going to look to push it down on the right-hand side. Now, Homiefe just farming up mid-camps. No one on Flashpoint here to defend this except for Benji and Hurriwind, and it doesn't even matter. Dignitas just taking advantage of where everyone is on the map. Benji wants to keep going, though.
And so does, Benji's going to rush to the back line, and Suntouch is just going to react with a nice little agility. Look on the left side, Homiefe lurking, trying to find a place where nobody's paying attention. There come the ultimate initiations. Benji on the backside. FrostiaK goes way too deep, and Shadowq punishes.
But Homie couldn't find the execute. He was looking for Ducky, but hit ShadowNightmare. Everyone from Dignitas so low, though. Vetium able to pick up ShadowNightmare, and the chase is on.
Hurriwind with the offensive backflip. Benji on the left, Hurriwind on the right. Both players that they're chasing are 25% or low, closer to 10 in all honesty. Benji gets the dash, not going to find the hit, but Hurry does. That's the cleanup. We're tied. tied at 7.
Evens it up 7-7 now, like you mentioned, and Flashpoint is really starting to roar back. And again, it's the composition. And Fire Giant's actually the call here from Flashpoint. Every tower still standing for Dignitas, but they're not worried about that. They're looking for this bigger objective. BigManTingz is here. Homiefe completely out of mana. This is pretty risky. Here they are going to get it. BigManTingz couldn't even get in to try and find the root. Instead, just try to steal it with one auto attack. That would have been the cheekiest Fire Giant steal ever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to do something, and he doesn't die there, so no harm, no foul. But I think it's interesting. Why even try?
Why even? Yeah, I guess so. You can see in that team fight recap there, not too far off as far as the damage goes for Dignitas. Only 3,000 or really like 2,000 less, but it's about the priority targets. Like, who was that damage onto? It was onto characters like Shadowq, it was onto Benji, but all the damage coming out of Flashpoint was onto targets that died. Ducky was able to get out very low, though. ShadowNightmare takes a lot of damage, as well as a couple other people, so just about finding the same target in these team fights. It's so important. You'll see sometimes where a team loses a team fight, but they did more damage, and that's just always telling me that they aren't focusing the same target. I'd much rather have 3,000 damage on one person than 7,000 damage spread out on 5.
So it's twofold, right? One, you're talking about split DPS or the spread DPS, and 2, sometimes you see those high damage numbers despite losing a team fight because they're targeting the wrong players. If you're dealing 1,800 damage into a 25 health mage, or excuse me, tank, well, that really doesn't matter. But if you're able to take down a hunter, all of a sudden that damage is much more relevant.
Hurriwind trying to take down the hunter for Dignitas, but isn't able to do so. World Weaver on cooldown for a little bit now. Middle tier 1 tower has fallen, and again, this is 5 members with Fire Giant, but Dignitas, they do have the tower underneath them to help out. And the gold lead is pretty close, though, Fire Giant obviously going to help out. Plus, basically every team fight since around the 20-minute mark, as you can see by the graphs there, every team fight past 20 minutes has gone in Flashpoint's favor. That's when their composition really came online and made it difficult for Dignitas to keep their lead.
Early game, Benji's going to show up and maybe stun somebody, right? But late game, or at least at this point in the game, he's going to be able to show up with the ultimate and then fire off the mirror, and it's going to do a ton of damage. Homiefe on the Kuang, obviously he's known for his late game potential. Homiefe really has to look for just completely annihilating a single individual.
And that's what Kuang does better than any other character in the game right now. Looks like tier 1 towers are the call as a whole for Flashpoint. Benji backing up, Gold Fury about to respawn, so wouldn't be surprised to see Flashpoint just try and take that out to extend that gold lead a little bit farther. They're up about 1,500 gold at this stage of the game, but they're not willing to take a risk under these tier 2 towers.
And it will be the aggression on the Gold Fury. Flashpoint completely alone. They're completely alone. Where is Team Dignitas?
They just can't fight into this. There's no reason to fight into that Fire Giant there. Yes, now you're down about 3,000 gold or so, but that's not the end of the world, especially whenever 5 members have Fire Giant. All of your tier 2s are still standing, so you don't have any tier 1s left over, but you've already taken down 2 tier 2s for Flashpoint as well. The map is not tilted in Flashpoint's favor heavily whatsoever. They only have an extra tier 2 on you. 3,000 gold, not where you want to be necessarily, but at 26 minutes across 5 members, that's not a death sentence by any means. There's no reason to throw away your life trying to contest Fire Giant there when you can just wait out the remainder of this fire.
That's fair, but at the same time, if Flashpoint continue down this road, they're just going to get the next Fire Giant, and you're going to see the same thing happen again.
Well, Benji going to take a good amount of poke from Suntouch, but still has Fire Giant regen for the next 30 seconds. Plus, he's going to be able to sustain with that first ability changing over.
Group 5 in the mid, and everybody jumps over BigManTingz' ult. They just saw the Sylvanus coming. Read like a book. Team Dignitas go for the initiation, and they just can't find it. Flashpoint now looking for the resurgence.
Good amount of poke on a Vetium. Fire Giant for about 10 more seconds, so Flashpoint have to try and get this tower now if they want it. Suntouch in a bad spot, has to use Sanctuary. Ducky in the front line trying to keep everyone out, but he can't keep out Homiefe. He finds him in the back line.
And continuing the charge is going to be Benji up first, and Vetium piling shots into the tower. Down it goes. 1,500 gold in the pockets of Flashpoint GG. They're now up 5,000 gold.
And they're going to be taking the speed buff as well. 4 members only alive for Dignitas, so they could even look at this tier 2 tower on the right-hand side. Suntouch dead for the next 35 seconds. Again, 20 minutes hits, and it just starts to climb back up in Flashpoint's favor. And this is a team that's been together for a little bit of time now, only during the fall split, but you know, these are players that are all tenured. They've all been here, done that, and you can see the experience shining through.
Now, one of the more exciting things here on the right side is the fact that, well, Flashpoint is going to use the Athena ult. That's not what I was anticipating at all. I wanted to see them actually fight into it and then have Shadowq ult on top of everybody, but Team Dignitas played a little bit too safe to get that ultimate off, so Flashpoint just going to get the tier 2 tower for free, and now they're going to hover around the Fire Giant.
Dignitas all backed. I don't know if Flashpoint know this.
They have no idea, otherwise
they could have gotten this Fire Giant. They absolutely could have burned that Fire Giant with 2 hunters, with an Kuang as well, who has excellent objective damage on Gold Fury and Fire Giant. I really think Flashpoint could have grabbed that. I don't think they expected all of Dignitas to back. The only thing they had to worry about was the teleport from Ducky, and even then you can bait in the solo laner by himself and get the kill. Very surprised to not see Flashpoint try and force it.
Well, that right there, that's the main difference between our client and theirs, right? It's easy to forget that Flashpoint just can't see the fact that Team Dignitas backed as a whole. They can probably guess the fact that, all right, 1 or 2 players backed, but they're probably just hiding behind their speed buff, ready to engage on us, and that's kind of the commonplace move.
ShadowNightmare gonna eat the ultimate from Hurriwind again. That's how they've been starting off every single fight. Benji going deep looking for him, but he's able to get out. BigManTingz eats the taunt along with Ducky. Shadowq the only one to take the brunt of BigManTingz' ult.
And the Suns come down, but pretty much to no avail. Blink, follow Blink. There's the damage from the jungler. Couple of shots, and Homie cleans it.
1v1, Homie gets the better of FrostiaK. ShadowNightmare forced to use the ultimate defensively. Ducky, the only one left on Dignitas with an ultimate. It's Shadowq still has his as well, so he's not worried about any potential poke. Homiefe is coming into zone, but he's got to be worried about Suntouch, who flies back in full health.
Let's push at a Flashpoint. They're going to group up. You've got the Athena ult. That's the full commit. Athena walks up lane if Flashpoint want to think about going in or retreating or whatnot. But the fact that Athena's ulting, you kind of have to make use of that now. So we're going to see the retreat from Flashpoint.
Just not, I don't know. They think about doing one thing and then it seems like they decide to do the other. Benji's still going to zone. It looks like it's a bait into the Fire Giant. 2-man taunt from Shadowq. Ducky very low, but ults in onto Vetium, taking a good amount of damage. Bludgeon gonna hurt, but even despite the Sanctuary, even though it wasn't needed, Ducky falls.
Shadowq gets the kill on that one. Let's listen to the rest of the team fight. Flashpoint GG.
Jing though. I'm not there. I'm coming back though. Can we still force something or no?
Probably not.
Are you sure?
We had to just back there. I don't know, we're so fucked. And we just had a free pick. I'm gonna go get red.
Just make sure we're buying words and let's run straight back to fire.
Yeah, boy. Oh, I'm
What
getting red
actors,
first.
what actors do they use? What actors do they use? Anyone know
Nothing.
anything? Humbuts didn't use anything? Humbuts blinked,
No.
right? Or no, E3 didn't.
You can use anything.
I got Zeus, I guess, at the beginning.
Okay, okay. Can we just go on Zeus right away again? Yeah.
So Flashpoint clearly figuring out what they want to do as far as the next opportunity is concerned. Right now, though, it's 10-8, and Flashpoint, they have a lot of time to think about what they want to do next, aggro, because they have a commanding lead. 7,000 gold in the lead, and plus they have the, more importantly, perhaps, they have the map command of this Fire Giant pit.
Teleport in from Benji. He's going to have that available. Ducky still has his, though. FrostiaK is here. Does have ultimate along with ShadowNightmare. FrostiaK looking around the side, and Homiefe looking for the 1v1 of potential yet again. Ultimate on a FrostiaK.
That's the damage.
Nowhere to go. Not in the right spot there. Homie able to kill the enemy jungler yet again.
Homie and Vetium just combining right there to go ahead and get the kill. Benji now going to zone out Forest team on the Fire Giant. Team Dignitas can't deal with it. They're way too far away, and all they have to do is listen to themselves, talk to themselves.
Nothing they can do about that. He's going to get the Fire Giant for 5 people there. Gold Fury is up, so you could see them immediately rotate over, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Left tier 2 tower, also the last one standing for Dig. So I like this decision because now you get the Gold Fury, you get this tier 2 tower, then you back. Then you just have all this gold. Homiefe before this Gold Fury and tier 2 tower already has almost 3,000 gold available to him. He's already full build. That's going to be a 3K pot if Homie wants it.
What color is the 3K pot, aggro?
It's red.
Yeah, so it's a
actually.
red pot, right?
Yeah, that one, but no one ever calls that a red pot because people call the physical 500
it's a 3K pot.
It's a 3K pot.
Just
But
a
that
3K
happens
pot.
to be red.
Sure.
I'm wearing purple today and Adonis isn't. I was very surprised.
All I'm saying is that the generic term for power potion is red pot.
Agree to disagree, Tom.
It's just that you're a mage. If you weren't a mid laner, you'd be with me.
Do you hear the alliteration whenever you say purple pot? It's very fun. You should try it sometime.
I can't. I just can't.
Purple pot.
33 minutes I have been casting with aggro. Flashpoint GG versus Team Dignitas. 11-8 right now. And Flashpoint, this has been, can we take a look at the graphs here? Just look how commanding this lead has been. It's been, you saw Team Dignitas almost think about taking a lead. And then all of a sudden, Flashpoint win a single team fight. And they just usurped the lead right away. And from that point on, we've just seen them literally, Shadowq just walks into problems, creates a team fight, and Team Dignitas can't deal.
And it's been Homiefe again, 6-3-4. And in fact, instead of going for the 3K pot, he went for the Spear of Desolation, sold off that Dynasty Blade Helm. Who needs protections when you could just kill people instead?
You know what? This time, Flashpoint, they're actually going to make the play. BigManTingz comes on in, but let's listen to Flashpoint as they make the Phoenix push.
Jump in 3.
I have a taunt 2.
They're
Go.
Go on now. Yeah, this is really good for us.
Does Zeus have
this is huge. We go. Looking for anyone.
I have blink.
That's beat.
That's our beat. Phoenix.
Focus Phoenix.
I have blink in a second.
We can just go mid.
Safe to mid.
No.
I'm going safe.
Mid.
We're all full health and they had to reset.
Oh, I know, but
It's
like, we've thrown our 2 other games, so.
Can't literally throw
Flash,
it.
I don't have beat.
I kind of want to just taunt.
No combat.
Touching away.
Xingwei knows. Has the reads.
2.
Nice. One Bellona. Look at Batz in the back. I'm on the Phoenix.
One in Batz.
One Phoenix. I don't have any
Aggressive. Expect pluck.
Expected.
We didn't.
No.
Hitting aggro. Hurry's poked. Get this, get out. I think we just reset here. I'm about to ult on me.
We just need to shield.
Just get out.
I have med. We can end.
We can end? Okay. And?
Well, yes,
Okay.
please.
Wait.
God.
So right there, Flashpoint. That is what I like to call realism, right? These guys are realistic. All right, yeah, we threw our other 2 leads, we threw our other 2 games, but this one is certainly ours. Team Dignitas trying to defend the Titan. There's the ultimate. ShadowNightmare is actually going to get a kill, but it's just for flavor. The game goes to Flashpoint GG. And that was an incredible game from them. Honestly, that was some of the best Smite we've seen from these guys all weekend.
It was patient Smite, and that's the big thing. It was waiting. They get a pick on a Suntouch. It really sets everything in motion for them. And then that misclick from FrostiaK in the mid lane really turned it around for Flashpoint. They're able to get the Gold Fury after that because of it, because no threat of Hunbat's ult. And after that, it was just all Flashpoint all the time.
Yeah, you know what? I think that missed Hunbat ult, whatever happened there, that was a double-edged sword right there, because you saw, yeah, there was the physical, tangible result of, hey, we don't have to worry about the ultimate, and then that was the moment, that was the turning point where Dignitas they looked just kind of dry. They didn't really have any oomph in their stuff. I don't know what happened there, man.
Well, it wasn't only that. It's also the fact that it happened right around 20 minutes, where the composition for Flashpoint is really, really strong. So it's not all around that, but it's, in my mind, it's certainly contributed. In Flashpoint, I mean, this is a team that you can hear it. They have confidence, but they're still kind of in their heads a little bit about those previous losses. And if they want to be qualifying for Worlds, they got to make sure that they're really, really tight together going forward the rest of the day.
I viewed it more as realism. I think, and I think it's healthy. I think it's one thing to be pessimistic, and that can obviously hurt you. But I think it's another thing to be overly confident. That's like they said, look, we can go the aggressive way right near the enemy base, but BigManTingz has the pluck. You can get into trouble.
Yeah.
So play it safe, because look, we have thrown the other 2 games. So just reel it back. This one is 100% ours, as long as we don't step too far out of line. I like the realism coming out from Flashpoint, and I think it's going to serve them well. We'll break it down a little bit deeper with Evan and the crew.
What a game. Flashpoint find themselves with their first victory of the tournament and feeling pretty good. They got a lot of games to play today. How does this do for their morale moving in, knowing they've still got to face Luminosity? They still have to face Orbit.
This is great, because coming off an 0-2 loss in the first day, now 2 more games to play, getting their first win of today, gives them a lot of momentum heading into their next match. Now, being 1-2, they still control their own fate if Luminosity lose their next match. So this is very important for them to take into the next game.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they might just go in with the mentality of, oh, we had a bad day yesterday. Today is going to be different, and today we're going to win it all. That's hopefully what their mindset is for them.
And we saw the comfort pick of the Kuang coming out of Homiefe in that last game. Struggled a little bit in the beginning, beginning, but once he got the wheels turning, he definitely made some hot plays that we saw out of him, and this is what really allowed Flashpoint to get the better edge of their opponent's Dignitas there, because we saw that tier 2 tower on the right-hand side play where the flank was happening from Homiefe. Suntouch got caught a little bit out of position there, where Benji was baiting so many cooldowns. Shadowq baited so many cooldowns as well, and then the rest of Flashpoint just ran wild in the backline.
You know, you saw the play there. Homiefe basically soloing FrostiaK as he was trying to run away, and there again he finds him at the edge of the fire giant. Dazer, was this more of a result of Dignitas not having their rhythm, or was it Flashpoint finally getting their identity back for this tournament?
Well, I think for one, they really took advantage of the Neith ult. Like I said during the analysis, before the games, that if they find anyone out of position, then they're just going to be able to Neith ult them, and Alcorn is going to be able to kill them, like right there at the end. But more than anything, to me, it just felt like Dignitas, they were getting picked off. They were really getting picked off because of this, and they didn't really get to use their comp as they wanted. They didn't get to group up and use these big ultimates.
It's very easy for Flashpoint to get in the right position, utilizing that Neith ultimate, utilizing the Athena global, as well as the Amaterasu aura, just to reposition themselves and get into a better position in that late stage game around Fire Giant, where every little misposition matters. If you're even a foot a little bit too far out there, the Athena is definitely going to punish you. So that's exactly what happened. Dignitas losing now, being 1 in 3. It's a very awkward position for them. There still could be some weird tiebreakers at the end of the day, so some good matches to come still.
Well, that's a good point. Let's look at the standings and see exactly what's going on today. On your screen, that should be brought up in just a moment. But just to figure out where everyone is standing, there's a lot of opportunities for many of these second teams to win. We know Allegiance is already qualified with 5 wins, but there it is, 1 win across the board. The only one leading that is Luminosity. But like we mentioned, a lot of these teams have many games today. Flashpoint being one of them. They can actually get to 3 wins. One of the only teams in that can get to 3 wins here, not necessarily requiring on a Luminosity loss. And especially the fact that they play Luminosity, so they can kind of determine their own fate if a couple of things go right with Sanguine.
Absolutely. Luminosity, though, on the other hand, they have 2 wins. They have 3 matches played, so they control their own fate as well. That matchup between Flashpoint and Luminosity matters so much for both teams. If Luminosity win out, they are guaranteed Worlds, but Flashpoint can easily stop their tracks.
Well, we've got Flashpoint versus Dignitas. That's what happened. Flashpoint get the better end of that trade, but Dignitas will stay on and see if they can fight for a chance to stay alive in this. They're going against Orbit. Dazer, you probably got to go ahead and help them out in this break.
Yes, I will.
But we'll be right back with more action coming at you for the Smite Super Regionals in just a bit.
I'd rather see you in my dreams. And every chance to dance I'll take if I can't see you again. We could be listening for answers.